Every August, tens of thousands of people crowd the streets of Sardinia for a massive, vibrant festival. But the man they are celebrating spent his entire life trying to disappear. Before the massive parades, this was the reality of the early 1700s. Vincenzo Pace was a frail peasant boy, working a harsh, unforgiving rural landscape. During a severe illness that nearly took his life, he made a quiet promise. If he survived, he would leave the fields behind and join the Capuchin friars. Vincenzo sought a life where no one would know his name. Yet today, his face and story are the most recognizable on the entire island. At the Buon Camino Friary, Vincenzo took the name Brother Ignatius. He entered a world defined by extreme poverty. His physical world shrank to a small cell with a bare board for a bed and a rock for a pillow. He wore a single habit made of coarse Sardinian wool that he refused to replace, even when it became threadbare. This diagram illustrates the Capuchin ideal of the eremitical life. The upward arrow represents a strict spiritual withdrawal, cultivating silence and continuous contemplation. But after 15 years of quiet weaving, his superiors appointed him almsbeggar, ordered out into the loud streets of Cagliari. Ignatius had to choose. He could either fight to protect his quiet sanctuary, or he could figure out how to carry that silence into the fiction of the city. For the next 40 years, Ignatius walked the cobblestone streets of Cagliari. He did it every single day, in the blistering heat and the freezing rain. Walking a route like this for decades meant exposing himself to a constant barrage of doors slammed in his face, rejections, and outright insults. When faced with hostility, he didn't argue. He responded with a downcast gaze, total patience, and a quiet gentleness that people eventually began to notice. On one occasion, a passerby hurled a vicious insult at him. Instead of taking offense, Ignatius noted his relief that at long last, someone in the city finally saw him for what he really was, a lowly sinner. That humility began to disarm the city. By refusing to react to the world's harshness, his presence became a silent, walking sermon. There was one specific house Ignatius would deliberately skip on his daily route. It belonged to a wealthy moneylender, known for predatory loans and never forgiving a debt. When the moneylender complained, Ignatius's superior ordered him to visit the house. Bound by his vow of obedience, Ignatius went immediately. He returned to the friary carrying a large sack of donated food, but when he opened it, thick red liquid spilled out onto the floor. Looking at the stain, Ignatius explained, "This is the blood of the poor, squeezed from them by usury." He refused to take anything from the very poor, and whatever excess he gathered, he gave away. He mediated street conflicts, comforted the sick, and shared what little bread he had with hungry children. In a city full of wealthy merchants, it was the man with zero possessions who became the primary source of its help, providing the food, the peace, and the counsel that no one else could. Decades of physical labor eventually took their toll. In 1779, at the age of 78, Ignatius completely lost his eyesight, but he refused to stop his work. For 2 more years, he navigated the complex, uneven streets of his begging route entirely blind. When he died in May 1781, the reaction was immediate. The citizens of Cagliari flooded the friary, seeking to honor the man who had walked among them for so long. His quiet persistence reached the Vatican. Pope Pius XII canonized him, recognizing the illiterate street beggar with the highest honors of the Church. These honors weren't granted to a diplomat or a scholar, but to a man who spent 40 years begging in the rain. He left behind no books and no grand buildings, only the memory of his footsteps. You don't have to live in 18th century Sardinia to see the value in that routine. The abrasive streets of Cagliari aren't so different from the daily frictions we face: the rude customer, the difficult coworker, or unacknowledged chores at home. St. Ignatius shows us that holiness doesn't require a grand stage, a high-paying job, or massive influence. It's about learning to carry a deep inner silence into those frustrating, menial environments. By meeting the world's daily harshness with unshakable gentleness, anyone can transform an ordinary routine into an
extraordinary effort to make someone feel blessed to have the life they are in.